Thank you, Stuart. That's okay. Give it up for Stuart. He's doing a great job. What a treat this is going to be. First of all, is this event not incredible? I'm so blown away at the World Crypticon team, what they've put together here. I have not even had a chance to go down to the bottom level yet. I understand there's people and things and stuff down there too. Yes, hope that you are all here for a special Bad Crypto Live at 4 o'clock, but right now you are in for a treat because our next keynote speaker has actually been a guest on Bad Crypto more than anybody else. I think 6 times, and since he's going to be on the keynote panel when we do the live show, that's going to be 7 times. He is the founder of Standpoint Research, standpointresearch.com, and he is an independent research provider. That means he analyzes the stocks and the cryptos. There's about 4,700 people with such a title, and this gentleman nails it so well in terms of being right. He is in the top 20 of those IRPs. He is a fascinating gentleman who's got some great stories and a great message for you today. Would you please welcome to the World Crypticon stage, Mr. Ronnie Moas.
Led Zeppelin.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to World's CryptoCon.
Wait a second.
I'm Ronnie Moas, and I'm wearing Crocs to prove it. They are the most comfortable shoes in the world, proven by science. If you do not believe that, then you're a bozo, and I will block you on Twitter. Also, I must say, if you do not have any dig in your portfolio, you are also a bozo. It is the best crypto since Bitcoin. It will make Bitcoin look like a shitcoin. If you would like a shitcoin, here's a Ronnie Moas shitcoin for you, everyone. Also, one final thing, please vote Trump 2020. I really love his economic policies. Thank you.
Other Ronnie Moas, Mr. Travis Wright.
I'm blinded by the
Ronnie,
lights here.
the stage is yours.
All right. Charlie Lee from Litecoin was just on stage. My name is Ronnie Moas from HeavyCoin. All right. I'm blinded by the lights here a little bit, so I'm just going to look down at this monitor. My company is Standpoint Research. I really want everyone to stay to the end because I'm bringing 4 people on stage that you really need to meet. 2 of them rode on a bicycle from New York to Las Vegas to raise money for charity. One of them was almost killed in an accident along the way, and he's here in a wheelchair. So please give him the respect and stay, and I'll speak about that in a few minutes. My company is Standpoint Research. I put out daily emails to my subscribers and dozens of stock and crypto recommendations during the course of the year. I have a top 20 ranking versus 4,700 people for my performance in the stock market the last 10 years. All of my 600 recommendations were time-stamped by at least 3 different news wires. In the stock market, the ideas that I put out are generated by a 155 variable computer model that took me 5 years to develop. Once I get an idea off the computer model, I apply heavy fundamental and subjective overlays before going out with an actual recommendation. So I don't tell you I like a name because it scored well on my computer model. I'm giving you a 20, 30-page report to back it up. A lot of people are asking me what I think about the stock market. The Dow Jones is at 25,000 right now. It will probably be at 50,000 in the next 15 years. So you're looking at doubling your money over the next 15 years. If that being said, the market is a little bit overvalued right now, and I think and we may see 20,000 before we see 30,000. Instead of selling on the way down, you should be buying on the way down. When you see babies getting thrown out with the bathwater, you have to learn the lesson that people learned 10 years ago when the stock market crashed. They sold at the bottom like individual investors always do. The smart people bought the panic and the capitulation, and they tripled and quadrupled their money during the last 10 years. And that's the same way you should be looking at Bitcoin right now. It's down 65%. It's on sale. If you bought a Bitcoin in January at $20,000, you can buy 2 today at $6,500 each. You just lowered your break-even point from $20,000 on 1 Bitcoin to $11,000 on 3 Bitcoin. Don't let the big whales here shake you out of your position. They are buying everything that you have dumped in the last 7 or 8 months. My target on Bitcoin is $28,000 by the end of next year, and I will get to that in a couple of minutes. The timer is not working here, by the way. I do not speak at any conference unless they let me speak about the gap between rich and poor. That's the only reason I'm here right now. I waive my speaker fee. I don't ask them for anything in return. As long as they let me speak about charity, philanthropy, and the gap between rich and poor in this world, which nauseates me, I show up. Otherwise, I don't speak at any conferences. I really appreciate what World Crypto Con has done. 5% of all the ticket sales from this conference are going to a charity that I will be speaking about in the next few minutes. We have enough in this world to satisfy everyone's needs, but not everyone's greed. If everybody in this world would just spend money on themselves for things that they need, we would not have 1 billion people living below the poverty line in this world. I just came from San Francisco. I walked down Market Street downtown, and there were dozens of homeless people and drug addicts on the street. This is Market Street, downtown San Francisco. I walked right by the headquarters for Twitter, and the street smelled like urine. I want to give thank you to Mark Benioff from Salesforce. He's on the ballot next week trying to get the high-tech companies to give a percentage of their revenues to this fund that will help resolve the homeless problem in San Francisco. From what I understand, Jack Dorsey is on the other end of the argument. I have 3 websites. One of them is philanthropyandphilosophy.com. I have never heard a good excuse from people that did not want to give to charity. I've heard a lot of bad excuses. There are people that would spend thousands of dollars to come to this conference and would not think twice about it. If I asked to give $200 or $300 to a charity, it would be an agonizing decision that you would have to consult with your husbands and wives before you took money out of your pocket. I don't know any wife that asks her husband if she can go shopping. I don't think you should have to ask permission from your husband and wife to give money to a charity. And if you have thousands of dollars to blow on a trip here, you should not think twice about giving some of that money back to people that will never live a day of their lives the way you live every day of your life. On my website, I screened thousands of charities. I identified 24 charities. Each one of them is doing God's work. Each one of them has a 4-star or 5-star rating on at least 3 ratings agencies. You can go to my website. There are reports that I wrote on each of these 24 charities. You can find the names that strike a nerve with you and donate to them directly. The gap between rich and poor in this country is in the world is absolutely mind-boggling to me. We abolished slavery 150 years ago. Nothing was abolished. It's actually gotten worse since then. The only difference is that instead of having slaves in this country, we raped an entire continent. The people in Africa live on $3, $4 a day. We have stripped everything out of the ground: gold, coffee, aluminum, oil, diamonds, copper, platinum, tea, and uranium. Everything was raped from their continent. And we left them with breadcrumbs. And everyone is guilty, from the gold and silver mining companies like Freeport-McMoRan all the way to Starbucks. So when I am passionate about closing the gap between rich and poor, it's because of shit like this that upsets me, that nobody talks about. There are people in my neighborhood that will spend millions of dollars on their own residence. With $8,000, I build a house for 6 people in Haiti and take 6 people off the street for $8,000. There are people that will spend $8 million on their own residence. I could take 6,000 people off the street with that money. Unfortunately, there are people in this world that think their own fucking comfort is worth more to them than the 6,000 lives they could be saving. You can go to a third world country right now with $500,000 and build a 9-facility orphanage, a library, a greenhouse, an administrative office, dormitories, a church, a health clinic, kitchen, classroom, and playroom for $500,000 and take 100 kids off the street, and for less than $10,000 a month, you keep the orphanage going indefinitely. Where there's a will, there's a way. It's not that hard to find a good cause to support. You should be giving away $1 to charity for every dollar that you spend on yourselves for things that you don't need. Before I bring my special guests on stage, I will speak about how you can make money so that you have something to give to the charities that I'm talking about. Bitcoin is currently ranked number 34 on a list of the 200 currencies in this world. It's already number 34 out of 200. It was as high as number 16 in January and December when it topped out at $20,000. If my bullish scenario plays out, I can see Bitcoin hitting number 6 on the list of the most valuable currencies in the world within 5 years. That would put Bitcoin at around $100,000 with a $1.65 trillion valuation, which would be 20% of where the gold market is right now. Okay, in a couple of years, there's going to be 100 million people trying to get their hands on a few million Bitcoin. And I know what that is going to do to the price. There's no way on earth to justify the gold market being at $7.5 trillion right now, and Bitcoin is at 125 billion, with gold at 7.5 trillion. That's 60x. It probably should be 5 or 10x. I know what the supply demand and the supply and demand imbalances with Bitcoin is, but I don't know how much gold there was in the ground, so how can I value it? This is the chart on Amazon. It went from $50 to $2,000 in 10 years. Recently, it pulled back from 2,000. I think it dropped 15% since I prepared this slide a few weeks ago. You know, 10 years ago, people said that this name was undervalued because they were losing money on every book that they sold. And guess what? The valuation went from $100 billion to $1 trillion in the last few years. If you missed out on Amazon, this is your second shot. In life, you miss every shot that you don't take. Bitcoin is a shot worth taking. It'll be a lot more painful to watch this from the sidelines go to $50,000 or $100,000, if I'm right, than it will to lose a bet that you'd place on this. You bet a few months of your salary. If it went to 0, you can recover from that. But if you're right on this, you shave a few years off of your retirement age. So you're getting a 10-to-1 payout, and the odds are better than 50-50 that you win the bet. There is no guarantee that Bitcoin will stay at the top of the mountain. You saw what Buster Douglas did to Mike Tyson. You saw what Amazon did to the shopping malls. You saw what iPhone did to BlackBerry, what Uber is doing to the yellow cab drivers, and what Facebook did to MySpace. I'm sure all of you have MySpace accounts, correct? Nobody has a MySpace account yet. Well, Bitcoin could end up being the butt of late-night talk show jokes 2 years from now. Don't assume that it will remain at the top of the mountain. People do get knocked off the top of the mountain. My guess is that Bitcoin will be at the top the same way Amazon is, but you want to have a diversified portfolio and hedge your bet. Even if Bitcoin goes up, you want to be diversified because there are other names in the top 20 that will outperform Bitcoin between now and the end of next year, even though my target on Bitcoin is $28,000. I think there will be names in the top 20 that outperform the 300% move that I'm expecting. There hasn't been much turnover in the last 6 months. 9 of the names that were in the top 10 6 months ago are in the top 10 now. The market is sending you a very clear signal. Stop looking in the gutter and trying to pick one flower out of all the weeds on CoinMarketCap because you will lose the shirt off your back. The same way the NASDAQ sent you clear signals 20 years ago. buy and hold Microsoft, Cisco, Juniper, Netflix, Facebook, Amazon, Google. They're telling you right now, these are the top 20, top 10 names that you should be focusing on. I have a 60-30-10 rule. I put 60% in Bitcoin, 30% spread out across the open names that I give my subscribers that are in the top 40, and then 10% of my crypto money is in speculative names. The same way you would have some speculative biotech names in a stock portfolio. I'm expecting a couple of watershed moments in the next 6, 12, 18 months that is going to cause a spike in demand that is going to coincide with the halving of Bitcoin in May of 2020. And that is going to create a parabolic move similar to what we had in December. The number of Bitcoin hitting the market in 2021 is going to be 365,000, down from 730,000 now. So the supply of Bitcoin hitting the market, rewards for the miners, gets cut in half. At the same time, a parabolic move is going to create a spike in demand. We have the 10th anniversary of Bitcoin this week. If you look back at the chart, there's a parabolic move, a crash, a parabolic move, a crash, and another parabolic move on the 10-year chart. Every time we have a parabolic move, it knocks out the high from the previous cycle. My target is 28,000 for the end of next year, 50,000 for 2020. Then we'll get a nasty correction, a bear market, and then we'll run up again before the halving in 2023, 2024. And that's when the $100,000 target comes into play. Right now, we're in the first inning of a 9-inning game. I once gave an interview to an English newspaper, and instead of quoting me word for word, I said we were in the first inning of a 9-inning game. Nobody then understands baseball, so they reworded my interview and said that we're in the 10th minute of a soccer game. But that's not, those weren't the words from my mouth. We're right now where we were 25 years ago, before the Netscape watershed moment, when the Netscape browser came online and the internet users went from 50 million to 1 billion almost overnight. That red circle all the way on the lower left, that's where we are right now. Less than 1% market penetration. Once we get a solution to the custody and security issues, once we get an ETF, once we get a Coinbase IPO or some other watershed moment, you're going to see this red circle move from the lower left towards the upper right. If we get 3, 4, 5% market penetration, there's your $50,000 Bitcoin. There are many bullish forecasts for Bitcoin in circulation. The bullish targets can be reached in any number of ways. There are rocket scientists that'll look at a chart for 3 seconds and tell you where it's going. I, on the other hand, am more of a fundamental analyst. I wrote an 87-page report on this. But even if you want to just look at the charts, you can see one of them below applies logarithmic nonlinear regression analysis. And there's another chart that uses another way of calculating the same target of 100,000, looking out 5 years from now, looking at what happens to the price as the supply hitting the market shrinks and the demand rises. And both of them come to the same conclusion, and both of those charts actually have the same target looking out 5 years as I do. I know there are people out there with targets of $500,000 to $1 million, but I think it's very irresponsible to put price targets out there. You've seen John McAfee and James Altucher and Tim Draper. I think it's irresponsible to tell you where I think this could go 10, 15 years down the line, because then people will take bets that they can't afford to lose. And if there's a 10 or 20 or 30% chance that I'm wrong, you lose the shirt off your back. So my targets are only looking out 6, 12, 18 months. And as the obstacles that I see in Bitcoin's path get knocked out, I can adjust my price target upwards. I'm not trying to be a hero and compete with some of these price targets that you see on the internet. The price of Bitcoin was probably being manipulated in recent months. You have whales, consortiums, sharks, and cartels that have billions of dollars in net worth. If someone has a net worth of $10 billion and he wants 10 or 20% of his portfolio in Bitcoin to diversify, the same way you diversify your portfolio, he wants to buy $2 billion worth of Bitcoin. He doesn't want to pay $20,000 for a Bitcoin. So what he does is, instead of putting in a market order to buy $2 billion worth of Bitcoin, he dumps 50 or $100 million of Bitcoin on the market. It creates one of these red candles, which the dummies sell instead of buy. The technical analysts pile on. It causes a crash and a capitulation and a panic. And the same person that dumped that $100 or $200 million on you waits for the capitulation, quietly comes back in, and buys 5 times more Bitcoin than what he sold. And that's how the top 1% will keep the gap between rich and poor intact. They will not give up power, and they will not let an opportunity like this slip through their hands, even if it means manipulating a price and separating you from what may be an opportunity of a lifetime. There are risks and concerns here. There are no slam dunks in the stock market, and certainly not in crypto. People ask me what is backing Bitcoin, and my answer is, what is backing the US dollar? Nothing's backing the US dollar. The US dollar has lost half of its value since I was in high school 35 years ago. Bitcoin will actually be acting like a currency that appreciates in value because of the way it's structured. And one of the watershed moments I'm expecting is for third world country governments to say, we're sitting on billions of dollars in our sovereign wealth fund in a domestic currency that's losing 2 or 3% of its value a month. We need to get out of our own currency and buy Bitcoin. And if a few countries do that, that is another watershed moment that will drive the price towards where the bulls are expecting it to go. There are obstacles in our way, but as the head of the IMF has commented, Christine Lagarde, all of these dominoes are going to get knocked down. There's always people that try to pour cold water on the latest technologies. When the cell phones came out, some genius said, we don't need cell phones if we have a telephone booth on every corner. You see the way that turned out. There is more than $200 trillion right now tied up in the world in stocks, cash, bonds, and gold. And all 4 of them are overvalued. If 2% of that $200 trillion ends up in cryptocurrency, you're looking at a $4 trillion valuation, 20 times where we are today. If Bitcoin holds on to its current market share, as I expect, the price would hit $130,000. All right, now, I hope that this will be the highlight of your week in Las Vegas, what I'm going to be speaking about right now. Blake, Josue, Jason, and Jovel are coming on stage right now. And I really hope I get your undivided attention, and I hope that you will be generous. I sponsored Jason and Jovel. They rode their bicycles from New York to California, 4,000 miles. They have one more stop. They end in Huntington Beach in a few days. Jason was almost killed in an accident in San Antonio a few weeks ago. The helmet saved his life. They put their lives on the line. You can't go from New York to California on a bicycle without something happening. They're driving on a highway with semi-trailers zooming past them 80 miles an hour, and the margin of error is this wide. Their goal was to raise $1 million for a charity that's based in Houston. I visited with the CEO of this 5-star charity on the 15th of October. And she also took me to their shelter, which is in a secret location. Houston Area's Women's Center is a 5-star charity that was established in 1977. They take 30 to 40,000 phone calls a year on their hotline. They also have a 120-bed shelter for domestic violence victims. I visited the shelter. 1/3 of the beds were occupied by children. So the guy's beating the crap out of his wife. She goes with the children to the shelter, and they receive the entire family and protect them from the husband. They have 120 beds. There's demand for 200 beds. This is a 5-star charity. It was established in Houston in 1977, and it was thoroughly vetted. Half of their $7 million budget is covered by a federal grant, and the government doesn't cover half of a charity's overhead expenses and budget for a year after year, if it wasn't completely vetted. And if you want a second stamp of approval, United Way gives Hawk $640,000 a year. I was at the shelter on the 15th or the 16th of October, and it's not a 5-star facility. It's a 2-star shelter. They don't want these women to feel too comfortable because then they won't want to leave. It's 4 women in a room, 16 women sharing a kitchen and a bathroom. They house 2,000 women here every year, and the average length of stay is between 2 and 3 weeks. You can donate to Hawk via their website, hawc.org/tour de crypto. WCC has given 5% of their ticket sales to this charity, and I've taken more money than they did out of my own pocket. I practice what I preach. So far, people have been coming up to their table the last 2 days saying, God bless you, you're doing God's work. Everybody's clicking like on their Twitter posts, and nobody's taken $1 out of their pocket. They want to do this again next year, the year after that, and the year after that. By the way, Jovel is also lucky to be alive. He was really banged up in San Antonio. But the agreement that they had is that if one of them couldn't finish the race, the second one would finish it on his own. And then he almost got a second injury a day before you got to Las Vegas, right? Blake is also doing God's work. He was the person that put the charity in contact with the riders. And he's been managing all of the social media. Josue has also done fantastic work. You're from El Salvador, right? And where were you from? El Salvador also, right? That's the pride and joy of El Salvador, both of these guys. And Josue has documented everything on video, correct? Yeah. And if you want to see something really special, go to their Twitter page and look at the drone footage that Josue shot from how many feet was the drone up? 130 feet. You can see Jovel riding on a road that never ends with a drone shot, shooting unbelievable footage. And you have now already, what, 20 hours of footage? 24 hours of footage, and you're going to make a documentary of this. Yeah. So one of the things that we're trying to do here is to get people to donate cryptocurrency to charities. We're also trying to raise awareness and get the charities to accept cryptocurrency donations. And don't tell me that you don't want to donate cryptocurrency right now because it's undervalued. Because you told me when Bitcoin was at $20,000 that it was undervalued and you didn't want to give it away, okay? So they have all these different wallets on their website. You can donate cryptocurrency to the charity directly. You can also give them cash donations. As I mentioned, they're helping tens of thousands of people. The name of the charity is Houston Area's Women's Center, but they take tens of thousands of phone calls on their hotline from all over the country, and I've been in their call center. I mentioned earlier, it's a 4-star charity on Charity Navigator. They had scores of 90% or higher on all 3 of the criteria. 4 stars at Charity Navigator, which is the highest, most highly regarded ratings agency, has given them their highest rating of 4 stars. So again, please show them your appreciation for what they did. And Blake wanted to say a few words to you. Was the mic for Blake? Yeah. Thank you, Blake.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to say thank you for everyone that's come by our booth and supported the tour. You know, this is a unique event, and this started out with this man here, Jason Berlin, coming to me with an idea. So it's 2 guys that put this team together. Jovel was gracious enough to ride, and we said, we'll do it, and we will build it. So Jason, he paid for the RV out of his own pocket to follow. We're paying for the videographer ourselves. And we're not asking for money from anyone other than our sponsors like Ronnie Moas and World CryptoCon that are donating money to us to help us cover the expenses. But the way we've set this up is 100% of the donations go directly to Hawk. So we are actually working with the executives at Hawk to teach them not only what cryptocurrency is, but how to use it. I'm currently working with the board of directors to establish procedures and protocols for using crypto, holding crypto, and converting it. Most charities that accept crypto today immediately convert it to fiat. And we want to show them that, no, you need to look at this and understand which coins you might want to hold and which coins you can use. For example, for Hawk, they have that facility. They can go onto overstock.com, use their crypto to purchase supplies for that facility. But one of the things that I've always tried to preach throughout this ordeal is we don't need everyone to give a lot. If everyone in the crypto space gave a little bit, gave $10 worth of crypto, we would easily reach our goal. So we just really need your help in spreading the word. Please follow these guys on Twitter at Tour de Crypto across all social media pages. If you can just help spread the word, we'd really appreciate it because it's word of mouth and social media that will help us reach our goal. Just this week, Marco Robinson from Naked Technologies, who's a huge philanthropist, donated $100,000 of his coin to Hawk and to the Tour de Crypto, and he actually wants to help us take this overseas next year. We've already been asked to go to Puerto Rico, China, Europe, and Canada. So this is a huge event that these guys started, and they've done a bang-up job. I get to sit in my office in Houston and manage this stuff while they're out on their road just busting their ass every day. Not only are they riding, but they're meeting with charities and other people at meetups in 16 different stops along the way to educate folks on what we're doing. So I really appreciate the reception here. I really appreciate the red carpet that World CryptoCon has rolled out for us. As Ronnie said, they're donating 5% of their ticket sales. We have the Crypto Kindness Party Saturday night at Omnia. So if you want to come out to that and support the guys, we'd really appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Super. Thank you, man. Thank you, Jovel. Thank you, man.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. That was wonderful for many, many reasons, one of which, it gave me a 40-minute break to go and get some coffee and some rest. So thank you very much to Ronnie and everybody that was on stage. Actually, it was super inspirational. Thank you to all of them. So, keeping everything moving on for you, would love to bring out on stage, and I would absolutely adore it if you gave him a massively warm welcome. Please welcome Steve Beauregard. Clicker. Thank you. All right, all right.